Brakes and Archer, come on. I've got my beanie with an LED light on it. Come on, we're cooking on gas today, people. Right, let's crack on. Right, okay, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be fixing a Rolls Royce. Now, I'm very excited to fix this Rolls Royce, mainly because I have no idea how it works. So I'm looking forward to getting to know the different aspects of these fancy cars. It's a 1970s Rolls Royce. It's got a funky name, can't remember. But yeah, it should be good. I know how all of the individual aspects of the car work, down to the hydraulic suspension that keeps the chassis completely level and all the wheels can move depending on where the load is. They can distribute the hydraulic pressure to keep the chassis completely level. So it's a really funky aspect of those vintage cars. Fancy rich people cars. They are really cool, to be honest. It's a gorgeous thing. But it's got a misfire. So, oh, and also a flat tyre, look. So I'm absolutely drenched. I pulled the tyre off yesterday, got the puncture repaired, so I'll be fitting it back towards the car, and then we can go on a little test drive. See if we can hear this misfire. Let's just get this adultery off. This is pretty dangerous. Leave Scotland if you're watching. It wasn't me. She's a bit wet. Click. Click. Fucking dog. Phew. And there's my bike I built for him. What a beauty. I might do a little video on that another point. We went to Africa on that thing, and I've turned that into, so it's two bikes that took me 7 months. Nick funded my existence for 7 months so I could make that bike for him. I built it out of a 1980s Honda XL600, and I squashed in a CCM 640 Suzuki, early 2000s. So it's more of a modern engine, more up-to-date castings, better materials, better ECUs, ignition systems, modernized fueling system, nicer carbs. So all in all, it has that old school background with the XL600 frame chassis, and then I've upgraded the suspension. So it's got the CCM rear shock, wheels, Brembo discs front and rear, upside down, full motocross spec forks, as well as the 640 CCM engine, oil cooled, twin carb. It's an absolute monster. And I changed the geometry on it as well. So because I've basically mimicked the CCM running gear with the swing arm and forks and assembled it around the XL600 chassis. So that's the CCM rear shock. This is the frame that I've had to build for it. These are the original Honda struts for the chassis. So it still has the upper portion of the frame original, manipulated a little bit for the subframe. But these lower gussets and frame rails and engine joists and mounting fixtures I've had to fabricate in the workshop. But yeah, it survived a trip to Africa. We done 1,200 kilometers in Tunisia, 7 days worth of riding. It was like a 6-hour shift each day. Fucking balls to the wall. I'd done most of the riding on this one because Nick had a more, he cheated really, he had a modern bike. And it survived. It got a hard life, but my work paid off, and it served us well. Yeah, okay, right, let's crack on with this. Just rewatched that video. Sorry about my hair, by the way. I look bloody homeless. It's because of my helmet and the rain. So the first job on the agenda is to find out why this
I think it's a centrifugal clutch that engages the pump under a certain amount of load, but it seems to be missing bolts. And as you can imagine, this spinning around at engine RPM is going to make it right a mess. So, reservoir off, and let's inspect this. I cannot believe that someone's had the cheek to duct tape this on. I find that absolutely insane with a 50, 80 grand Rolls Royce. Crazy. Now, I don't claim to be an amazing mechanic, but I have morals when it comes to repairing things. I like to know that I've tried my best to make it last as long as possible. The person that's repaired this hasn't. They've wanted their paycheck, they've got the thing functioning, at least until it's out the garage, and they've sent it on its way. Look at this. A household chock-a-block connector they've crammed on to the temperature sender unit. This temperature sender unit tells you when you're running out of coolant. That's pretty important, right? You'd think you'd want a reliable feed to your sender. Lack of insulation around the little mount for the cable tidy, so it's chafed through and damaged the cable. See right there. Oh. I would not be happy knowing I couldn't sleep well at night. At the end of the day, mechanics attach their name to things that they repair. And if it doesn't last, your name's on it. You were the last one to fix it. So I guess if you're retiring, then fucking you'll be dead soon, but come on, man. Oh, safe and sound. Right, let's have a look and see what we got. What? Crazy. So I'm just going to spend some time familiarising myself with what's going on underneath this hood. Try and get some answers. And then I'll come back to the video and hopefully have a nice explanation as to what's went wrong, how I'm going to try and fix it, and we'll go from there. How I am going to fix it, staying positive. So I think this piece that's broken off, a very rough guess, is some sort of vibrational damping device. I think it does something whilst it's spinning, it just helps reduce any unwanted vibration. But it's quite obviously broken. There's the remnants of the duct tape. and you can see a lot of travel marks on the outside of the pulley, all these big score marks, as well as some weird bonding glue or something. So it's been broken for quite a while, so I'm going to have to take this pulley off. It's got a nice internal thread there, so I'll pull this bolt out, find the right pulley for it, wind the pulley in and press this plate off, and we'll go from there. I'm also going to take out the spark plugs, see what they're like.
That's fuel. Starting running very rich, probably because it's missing on a cylinder or two. Quite a way off from running nicely. Now in terms of setting something like this up, it's going to be quite difficult. There is a bunch of gizmos that have all sorts of weird Rolls-Royce adjustment features and loads of locking screws and adjusting nuts and a lot of mechanical levers that you have to time correctly to make sure it gets the right fuel at the right time. The basic principle is quite easy to understand, but when it comes to a V8 Rolls-Royce with all these quirky features to make it even nicer to drive, they, after a long time of existing out the factory, they'd be lovely, but you know, when it's been through a bunch of different owners and a bunch of different people working on it, all these missing screws, it's going to be quite hard to get it back to a base note. Joys. The joys! Right, I'm not quite done moaning yet. There's a few other things that I found on the car that are worth explaining. Taken off the air intake system, the boot that runs from the carburetor intake manifold to the air filter housing. It's nothing crazy, but it's also, I think the running fault with this car is going to be a combination of a bunch of little things that have progressively built up over time. It's quite common for old cars to develop small faults, and then eventually you'll have one more small fault that will just make all of them combine together to make it run like a real bag of poo-poo. So I think that's what we've got here. I think it's one of those situations. Starting with the rubber gasket that seals the airbox housing the lid onto the car. It's going to leak. It's going to leak air. Another pretty major problem with the air intake is the botchery that it's seen in a previous life. This is the air boot with a big split in it and the remnants of some more duct tape. Sounds like it's fit for the purpose, but it's not. It might be, I mean, it's not adequate in any situation, is it? Look at the state of it. It's just bad workmanship. What's he done there? He's just cut a V in it and crammed it in there. Animals. So that's one pretty big problem. It's quite obvious, easy to fix, happy days. Another problem, not even a problem, just a weird sort of thing that I've noticed. It's got an iridium spark plug in it. If you're not familiar with spark plugs, they have different types of materials that make up the electrode in the center. High performance racing modern bikes run iridium electrodes because they produce a finer, quicker, like denser spark, but they foul up a lot easier. I'm not even sure if they had these fucking things back then. Oh yes, please, if that's okay. Cheers, love. Nice one. I'm not even sure if they had these spark plugs back in the day. So the fact that it's got iridium spark plugs in it is completely unnecessary and more prone to fouling up. You can see how gritty and sooty that plug is already. That's only been around for like 5 minutes. So I'm going to double check on the old Tinterwebs to make sure. You never know, it might need iridium spark plugs. That might be what's listed in the manual, in the service manual. But I'll be very surprised. Ideally, I'd like to get a nice big thick steel spark plug. So we'll see. So the list is adding up on the things to fix. Leaky intake system, funny power steering, drive, spark plugs, yucky. So once I think that's what I'll do. I think that's the battle plan. At least for now, just to try and make some progress. I'm going to get some new spark plugs, repair that rattly poor thing, seal this intake system, and repair a few of the dodgy wires because they are just never ending. So look at this, I'm just going to give you a quick overview. That's called a Scotch lock. Whoever invented Scotch locks, I'm going to try not to speak poorly on this channel anymore because I've rewatched my videos and my language is pretty bad. But fuck that guy, right? Whoever's invented these Scotch locks. Do you know what they do?
they've got a little blade inside them, and they squeeze and pinch onto the wire. Do you see that? The dirty, lazy little sods. So whenever you buy something and you need to hatch into a original loom to pull power or a signal wire off a function, they give you these things. These bloody 2025 electricians that think, well, they're the worst in the world. They destroy looms. You cut into the insulation and then you've fouled that entire section of wire. Anyway, here's another dodgy one, look. Just 2 bits of wire. There was electrical tape over this. So do you want them connected? Do you not want them connected? Look, look, look. It just doesn't end. Oh. That butterfly looks really bent to me as well. Oh no. Look at that, it's gorgeous. Is that the choke then? Yeah, I think that's the choke function. So this will be your cold start function, and then your main actuators to increase engine RPM are here. So that's what happens when you rev her. But this puppy, this restricts the airflow and increases the amount of fuel compared to air. So if you knock all the air off, you get loads of fuel as opposed to air, and it makes it easier to start when it's cold. When engines are cold, little fun fact for you, air is more dense when it's cold, so there's more physical oxygen inside that specific area of air than there is when it's hot. So a cubic centimetre of air when it's hot has less air compared to a cubic centimetre of cold air. Air when it's colder is more dense. So when an engine is cold, the air is more dense and it has a set amount of fuel throughout its entire temperature range. So you need functions to help enrich the fuel when the engine is cold to bring that fuel ratio back to where it needs to be to fire up. Cold air needs more fuel. When it's hot, she's good to go. So easy mechanical way of getting around that problem is restrict the airflow, increase the fuel demand. Shoom! Easy start. Right, time lapse, spark plugs, intake, power steering. Car's burning an absolute hoolie out there. So I just went and got some parts, got the puller to get the power steering unit off, got some new spark plugs. I did some research on those spark plugs. Those Iridium ones are just a fancier version of a standard NGK type spark plug. So you can replace them with the non-Iridium version, which is literally 5 times as cheap. The Iridium spark plugs 25 quid. My fancy little ones are 5 quid. So, and genuinely, the Iridium ones, if you have a performance engine and you're running loads of compression, you might actually need the Iridium spark plug. But an old school thing like that, where you don't have that much demand on the ignition side of things, this is more than adequate. Bigger contact patch for the electrode, so they're harder to foul, and they're 5 times as cheap. These are all they need to be. So, got a whole box. Happy days. We'll replace them tomorrow. Just going to try get the puller off with some various different tools. So we'll give that a go. It's made out of rubber. Or at least part of it is. What a guess. Just for anyone that needs to know, a Derby 50 flywheel puller is the correct thread pitch and diameter for this hydraulic pump on the rolls, man. Lovely jubbly. So this is threaded to that outer housing, and then we're going to press off the inner core. Try and pull the outer housing off that inner taper. So let's get my spanners on it.
Right, we've got her off. I've got to do some Googling, find out what the bloody hell's going on with this thing. Great success. Right, so I think I've sussed out what's happened to the poor thing. This is the orientation that sits in. Sits completely flush. These dowels here have got remnants of rubber on them. You can see a little bit left just on this one here. So I think those studs are the core of the rubber mounting fixture in between these two halves. This is actually mostly rubber, so that's like a cush drive to stop any harsh impacts or any vibration come through this shaft. Everything inside this oil pump is very delicate, and I think it would suffer from any sort of ricocheting from the engine. So this rubber just prevents all that jumpiness. Same with these brass plates. Look, it's got these brass plates in between these two arms. One like that, one like this, and then so 3 in total. So if you can imagine any torsional forces going hitting it there, you're tensioning these bands as it tries to rotate around. So it's that sort of, again, to reduce that shock input. But it's completely eaten itself alive. I feel like we're missing a few elements to this soft engagement device. Just based off how much this... oh! Yeah, I think we're missing some bits. So fast forward to me finding a new one. Right, disassemblies went well. I managed to get the puller and all the components off without any issues. No additional scratches on the car. Bonus. And I've still got all the parts. I've not lost anything. Tickety fucking boo. Yeah, I mean, we found some more problems, but that's to be expected. So I'm going to take these parts to the workshop, see if I can find out what's happened to the clutch, and get a list of parts ready to order, and then hopefully be able to go for a drive soon. And if you are watching these videos, I hope you get something out of it. I really enjoy what I do. I'm so lucky to have customers. Nick's a really good example, but I have a lot more other people that have dreams and aspirations of their own related to toys that I can repair. So they're funding my existence, and hopefully you guys can enjoy the toys that I can actually, because they're really interesting machines, and I'm learning as I go, so hopefully I can translate that into a video where you guys can also understand with me and learn along the way. So thanks for sticking around. Let's get